Great, so you want to try making an ARIS game? Well, this tutorial should help get you started. To get started, go ahead and go to arisgames.org/alpha editor. That's all one word. And you should come to this login screen. We use the word alpha here because we don't have all the features that are built in the client yet built in the editor. But we do have enough stuff to make some really interesting activities. So go ahead and register for an account if you don't already have one, and then go ahead and log in. Our first time in, we can make a game, or your games that you've already made are found in this tab. Let's make a new game called Alpha Editor Demo. And then this description will be available to users. So this is just a test. Once the game is made, you'll start on this kind of main screen that has a map on the right and your object palette on the left. It's good practice just to use this search area to zoom right into the area where you'd like to make the game at. So in my case, I'm going to give it some specific instructions. Engineering building, Madison, Wisconsin. And it's pretty good using the Google engine to find exactly where you're talking about. And that's what I was looking for. I'll zoom in a little bit more. And you're probably used to using Google Maps, so you can switch between these different modes, and the hybrid one is the one that I'm going to stick in. The area I'll be building the game is going to be right in this engineering drive area. This is a fountain down here, and then there's this kind of a green space, and we'll be using that area for this demo. So what are we going to put out on the map? Well, we have three choices in ARIS. We have characters, items, and plaques, and we'll build one of each for this simple demo. For the purpose of this demo, the interaction that we'd like to create is to have a hidden key that's placed out by the fountain that the player can't find if they don't know where to look, but if they do find it, they can pick it up and bring it in their inventory. We also want to create a character that's saying, go find the key, and then we need to give them a clue about where to look. So we'll use plaques, items, and characters to do that. Well, let's start by making the key. So in ARIS, you first create the item over here, and then we'll drag it out to the map. So go ahead and create an item. And the reason that we picked an item is that an item is really good for an object that is going to get picked up and moved around by the player, like a key. So let's go ahead and use that. When you first create it, it'll come out here as unnamed, and when you double click on it, you can get its properties. So let's name it. This is a key. And the description is a small brass key on a key ring. Great. And then you see these options for droppable and destroyable, and these are specific to items. What this is saying is if it's marked droppable, the player will be able to put it back on the map somehow, meaning if they pick it up and they walk somewhere else and they hit drop, it'll be there for other players to pick up in GPS space. If it's destroyable, that means the player can actually remove this thing from the game altogether. Be careful when you're using these, because you could run out of these items that you might need. I'm going to allow the players to drop it, but not destroy it. There's a bit of a bug in the alpha that hopefully we'll fix soon, and that is we need to hit save on these things before we select media, otherwise they're lost. So let's do that now. Great. We saw the name update over here. Now we can go and pick the icons and media for this. The icon is how it'll display on the map. And we've got an icon picker that comes up, and we've got images and audio and video, but for the sake of an icon, always make sure just to pick the bottom option. And there's some defaults in here, and I'll just pick one from there. Key, and hit select. Great. Now we'll actually pick the main media that'll display when that item is viewed. And this is where we can use the rest of these types, images and video files and all the like. And like icons, you can pick from the ones that are already here, or you can upload your own. File sizes and such will be documented up on the Alpha support site. So let's pick some keys. I know we have some in here. Yeah, great, that'll work. So now we've created a key, we've given it some media, and we'll go ahead and save it, and you should see the icon update over here. Well, to place it on the map is pretty simple. We just need to slowly drag it across this line and drop it. And I'm serious about slowly. It's a weird little glitch that we're working out right now, but if you drag it too fast, you might end up with seeing a little red X get stuck to it. And if that happens to you, you can just kind of let it go and then drag it slowly across. It's some artifact of working in Flash. Once you've dragged it out, you'll be left with a little point, and that's actually the placement of that item. And if you double click on it, there's options. This label is going to be how it displays to the player on their map. So this could be a different name than the name of the object itself. The error range is how many meters or how close they have to be in meters to this thing for it to trigger. And depending on whether or not you're in a good GPS area or not, meaning tall buildings or lakes or things like that, you can vary this. We find 20 to be a pretty safe value, but if things aren't triggering, you can crank this up as high as you want to go. And then for items, we'll also have a quantity that's there. The last two options, hidden and auto display, are going to pick how that thing is going to display on the map and then how it's going to be presented to the player. If it's marked hidden, like this, it won't come up on their map. But if they walk over there, it'll be there anyway. So it's a way to put something like this out where we don't show them on the map where it is and they've got to find it on their own. If they happen to stumble upon it, maybe without following through in the sequence we were expecting, it would still show up though. Auto display is an option that will pick whether or not the players have a choice to display this thing or whether it just happens when they get to that spot. If you're going to have a lot of items or characters nearby each other, you want to make sure this is off, because otherwise just the first one will trigger and the player might not be able to access the others. On the other hand, sometimes if it is the only thing, it's kind of nice just to have it come up right away instead of having the players presented with the menu of nearby items. So in this case, we'll leave it off. And go ahead and save it. Great, well that's all it takes to put a key out there that's hidden. Let's author the other two parts as well. So for the next part, let's put a plaque out. And what a plaque is a piece of media with a title and description that's kind of bolted to the ground. It's not interactive in any way, it's just some media that fires. Really great for virtual tours. In this case, we're going to make it directions to the key. Great. And then this description will be displayed when the player reaches this thing. So the key is on the north side of the fountain. Oops. And that's pretty much it. So I'll save these and we could pick media for it, but for the time being I'll just leave it as is. And then let's drag this thing out and place it somewhere as well. Now if we leave this unhidden, then this is going to automatically be on the map as soon as the player starts. And that's how we want it, so they can find the key. And then just for demo's sake, let's actually mark this as auto display as well. So when the player gets close to this, this is just going to come up right away on their screen. And we'll hit save. For our final option, we're going to author a character. So add an object and then character. Characters are really where the most complex interactions in ARIS are at. And we only have a very simple part of it built so far in the alpha editor. In the client, and if you play some of our games like Dow Day, you'll see that characters can have a set of conversations and they can give and take items and they can do some really interesting interactions. Right now all we have in the editor is a couple of simple options that we can see here. We can name the character, and in this case I'm going to name it after a friend of mine, James. The description is something that's never displayed to the character, so these are just internal notes to self. And then the only part of the character that we have implemented in this editor is the greeting. And this is just what the character says when you interact with them. So in the case of this example, the greeting will just be, "Hi, can you find the key?" And we'll save. And then the last part is let's drag James out to the map somewhere. There will work just fine. And we'll also set this to be auto display. Well, that's about it. At this point, you should be able to go out in the field and give this a shot. You've authored all the parts that you need to, but the one extra thing that you need to do now is set up your iPhone to actually work with the server that this authoring tool is attached to. So back on your iPhone, let's pull it up. And when you first download ARIS, it's not going to actually attach to the same server that you can author games onto. And we did that for some security reasons. So to get it set up so you can test and play the games that you're making, you have to go into Settings. And inside of Settings, there'll be an option for ARIS. And you need to change this server URL. Now we've got this documented up on the Google group, but this is the address you need to type in: arisgames.org/stagingserver1. So that's STAGING SERVER1. And once you change that and you leave, when you go into ARIS from now on, you'll be pointing at the games that are being built by the other authors that are part of the alpha program. So just to make sure everything's working, we log in and we should be seeing, good, the new list, including the game that we created, this alpha editor demo. Well, go out in the field and give it a shot, and then come back to part 2 to learn how to work with requirements.